Hey, I'm Lisa, and today I wanted to share with you guys just a quick devotional on 1 Corinthians 12:9. But first, if you're not already subscribed to my channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell next to it. That way you'll be notified whenever I post a new video. I love to encourage you in motherhood, faith, in homemaking, and just in your life. So I hope you guys will subscribe. I post every Tuesday and Saturday. So first, I don't know if you can see, but I have this pillow behind me. It says, "My grace is sufficient," and that is from 2 Corinthians 12:9. That pillow actually encouraged me to go and read this scripture. And I posted this little devotional last week or a couple weeks ago on my Instagram about this scripture because this really spoke to me, and I felt like God was trying to teach me something and is still trying to teach me something through this scripture. So I wanted to read part of this chapter to you and just kind of explain what God spoke to me through it and hopefully encourage you through that. So I'm going to start in verse 6. So I'm in 2 Corinthians 12:6. "Though if I should wish to boast, I would not be a fool, for I would be speaking the truth, but I refrain from it, so that no one may think more of me than he sees in me or hears from me. So to keep me from becoming conceited, because of the surpassing greatness of revelations, a thorn was given me in the flesh, a messenger of Satan to harass me, to keep me from becoming conceited. 3 times I pleaded with the Lord about this, that it should leave me. But he said to me, 'My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in your weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly of my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me. For the sake of Christ, then, I am content with weaknesses, insults, hardships, persecutions, and calamities. For when I am weak, then I am strong.'" So for my specific situation, I am a stay-at-home mama taking care of my 8-month-old, almost 9 months. Actually, when you see this, he will be 9 months old. Motherhood so far has been a journey. I prayed for a long time to have a baby, and oh my gosh, my husband and I are so blessed by River. We are so happy that God has blessed us. The word says that children are a blessing from the Lord, and we've definitely experienced that. And I love being a mother. I felt like this is what I was made to do. I found so much joy and fulfillment in it. But there have been times, there was actually a period of time where I was really struggling, probably from about when he was 3 months old to like the 5 or 6 month old mark, where I kind of just went through a time where I was really struggling, feeling like, am I doing this right? Like, I don't know what I'm doing, and just kind of almost feeling a little bit depressed, to be honest. And I know postpartum depression is a huge thing. I never got diagnosed or anything, so I don't want to say I had postpartum depression or anything, but I was just feeling a little overwhelmed and just feeling kind of like a lack of purpose. Even though I loved being a mom, and this is like what I prayed for, I was dealing with a lot of hormones, and the thing is, River is kind of strong-willed, to be honest, and he is so determined, which I love about him. I think that is such a great quality, but it's one of those things where it can be a great thing, but then it can also be hard at certain times. He was also having a really hard time sleeping and napping, so I was just feeling tired, he was feeling tired, and we were just trying to figure out what was best for him and how to get him on a schedule. And I feel like there's like all this information on the internet, and I tried all these things and like nothing was working, and so I just felt a little bit overwhelmed. And even like with every like growth spurt and leap he goes through, he just went through a leap where it was a little tough because he was very fussy, and just throughout the day it would just be kind of hard. And so I found myself a lot of the time asking God, like, can you just like help him to get over this leap, or to be more peaceful, or just to behave better? Like, this is hard right now. But I read that pillow, I looked at the scripture, and God was just telling me my grace is sufficient. He was telling me that my circumstance isn't going to change. I mean, with River's growth spurts and everything, they're temporary. So he's going to have times where he's not behaving as well, and he's going to have times where he's like just an angel of a baby, which like today he's been such a good baby. Oh my gosh, he's just been amazing. But there are going to be those really tough times in parenting. And rather than praying for circumstance, whatever you're going through, it doesn't have to be parenthood or motherhood. It could be anything, whatever you're going through. That circumstance may not change, or it may not change right now, but God's grace is sufficient. Now, what does that mean? To me, that means, okay, God, show me your grace. I'm not going to ask you to change my situation. Not that you can't pray for that, but God, show me your grace through this. I cannot do this on my own. Help me, Lord. And I notice when God puts us in those situations where we feel like we're at our breaking point and we just can't do anymore, we feel overwhelmed, when we take it to him and we ask him for his grace and to help us through that moment, and rather than change that situation, to strengthen us in that situation with his help and be able to get through it and handle it and learn and grow. That's when he is glorified. He shows us how weak we are, and we are weak. We cannot do anything in our own power and in ourselves, but with him all things are possible. With him we can do it and we can overcome. So I find in those situations it's his way of, okay, come to me, rely on me, and you're going to glorify me through this. I just want to read what I wrote here in this devotional that I posted on Instagram. I said, I have found this to be so true, and I'm talking about my grace is sufficient with motherhood. I guess you can say grace and motherhood go hand in hand, or should. We don't always turn to grace, but we should. That should be our first instinct, is to turn to God and ask him for his grace. When you feel too tired to make dinner because you were tending to your baby all night long, when you are feeling too empty to give attention to your hubby because you've been taking care of the kids all day, and just feel mentally depleted, God says, my grace is sufficient. And like I said, again, I'm using this in my own circumstance as a mom and as a wife, the areas where I just can feel drained sometimes, and I feel at my breaking point and overwhelmed, and where I need to seek God's grace and ask him to strengthen me in those areas. But this could be for anything. I know there are things that are so much bigger than what I'm going through. Paul here was going through a much bigger thing, and he said that he actually had a thorn in his flesh, a messenger from Satan to harass him. Oh my goodness, like that's crazy. So I don't even want to compare my situation to Paul's situation or some other person's situation, but the thing is God has put us each in our own lives, in our own places at this present moment, and each of us have different troubles, and we might view them on different levels of what something is more severe and what something is not as big of a deal. But to each of us, we have our own breaking points and our own points where we feel overwhelmed. So this is I'm just speaking for myself. But I know this can be true for any situation and any circumstance, that when you're feeling overwhelmed, when you feel like you cannot do it, and you feel like you just something has to change, like this circumstance, this situation has to go away, turn to God, because his grace is sufficient. With him, it is possible to get through it. He wants to teach you. He wants to grow you. He would not do it on your own, but seek his power. And so that way he can get the glory. That way we know that he is the one that is over our lives, that he cares about us, that he loves us. So I hope that encourages you, at least one of you out there. I know this has really been helping me. And this scripture comes to mind whenever I'm starting to feel tired or overwhelmed, just as a mom and as a wife. And it has really been changing my mindset. And I have found so much more contentment and peace and joy in being a wife and in motherhood, with just having this scripture in my mind and in my heart. So I would love to know a scripture that you use when you're facing some difficulties or just feeling overwhelmed and tired. What's a scripture that comes to mind for you, that encourages you, that uplifts you and helps you. Leave that in the comments below, and be sure to hit the like button if you liked this video. I love you all, and I'll see you on Saturday. Bye.